come on. How you want it, cognac or Patron? Brunch with the boys, we gon' give you what you want. And what you don't know, we about to put you on. Come on. How you want it, cognac or Patron? Brunch with the boys, we gon' give you what you want. And what you don't know, we about to put you on. Yes, we are the trending topic. Good relationship profits. Brunch with the boys, we the highs. Brunch with the boys,
with the boys. What's going on, gentlemen?
Jezzy, what's good, everybody?
Hey, it's Mr. Jen out here, man. I'm not even trying to catch this corona virtually, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I think he's trying to keep us from getting his or catching
Man, I don't got nothing, man. Let me just go ahead and give y'all this real. You know what I'm saying?
So what you just did was waste the mask? That's what you did?
No. You don't waste masks. You don't waste masks.
Then what you do with it?
I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna keep this until I go out in the real streets and then use it. You know what I'm saying?
You know that's only good for a few days, right?
Yeah.
Can you disinfect them?
No, I don't think you're supposed to disinfect them.
Not to any good measure you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I got the cloth ones though. So
listen, we are not medical professionals, so if y'all get any medical information from us, y'all some damn fools. Okay?
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it either.
Tonight.
Yeah, but that was real. Man, we want to talk about rejection and specifically facing rejection within your relationship. You know, rejection is a regular part of life. We've all failed a test. Some of us have not made a sports team. Not me. I made every team I tried out for, you know, real hoopers, ballers. We've interviewed for jobs that we didn't get. Rejection is something that we've got to face. But, you know, when we think about rejection, we think about the exclusion from groups, from interaction, from information, but we forget about the exclusion from communication and emotional intimacy. And that's where relationships come in. You know, you may find yourself being rejected within your relationship more often than you like. You know, let's go into one of the basic ones I feel most men especially experience, but I've heard many women as well, is sexual. A lot of sexual rejection within the relationship. Every time nigga ask, you tired. Every time nigga ask, you know what I'm saying? You're not with it. So, and these tend to be the long-term relationships where there's stability, kids, financial stability. So everything is seemingly okay. Yet for some reason, you know, he can't get his rocks off.
You forgot one characteristic though. You forgot apathy, aka don't give a shit about nothing. Yeah. Right? And that's what happened. That's that long-term setting, man. Shit becomes so monotonous and so mundane that people, man, they just going through the motions. They are actively disengaged, or something they say in the personal world, right? They're actively disengaged, right? So they are participating in something, but without any real kind of overwhelming commitment to it. So I think that you have to deal with that, unfortunately, and you know.
I think that's just as bad as regular rejection, man. For someone to be there and not be there, I mean, I think that almost stings just as bad. I don't know how you feel about it.
I mean, no one wants to be rejected, period. It's by a stranger, you know. Every man, we go through that more, and we're going to talk about an example of that later, but every man is familiar with the possibility that when he approaches a woman, he may be rejected. To think that I already have this woman and she's still rejecting me, you know what I mean? That takes it a bit further.
And I'm not going to lie, that shit does hurt, man, because I feel like, and we had this whole podcast on the power of the oysters, what we called it, but really it's AKA though. Exactly what you just said, Dez. You know what I'm saying? And there's so much power that's associated with women and their femininity and the source of that P, that they understand that so well that they control the ebb and the flow of all the sexual experiences. You can come in there and just randomly say, man, I really want some head right now. And she'd be like, yeah, not now. I'll take care of it later. But if the reverse was put into play and was like, nigga, eat this pussy right now, you'll be like, no problem. And it's a differentiation. I
What if
wouldn't
she
be.
just came from the gym? What if she just came from the gym? You one of them? Are you one of them?
I'll eat some musky pussy if I had to. You know what I'm saying?
No, see, I'm
Um,
Man.
afraid
Oh, that's
on some principle,
but why did you go eating it so
just
quick?
to let her know how nasty I really
Or how much
can
you
be.
care? I think when you eat it, if you eat the pussy when it's fresh from the gym or suck the dick fresh out the gym, it's more about showing love than it is about how nasty. Because boy, you gotta love a motherfucker to do that right there. That's
What about
you
eating?
doing that, Jezzy?
you
You
know what I
doing
mean?
that?
You doing it,
No,
G?
I'm not eating the pussy. Now, would I slide my dick in it? Sure.
Oh,
Sure.
That doesn't count.
That's easy.
that's
Yeah, but
That
I'm not
doesn't count.
on that. I'm straight, man.
That doesn't
I don't
count.
even
Would
really
you?
want her to do it for me when I leave the gym. Will I take it? Yes.
Of
But while
course.
the moment she starts, I say, you a nasty
You a
ass.
nasty, exactly, and
And
you
I make
meant
sure
it,
I remind her and I smile while I say it, but I mean,
you enjoy it a little bit more because you know how forbidden and nasty it could be, though.
yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I only low key judged her, not big time.
Would you eat it with her period on?
First of all, I don't know how we got this off subject. Definitely not. Nigga, I used to hear Trina say that back in the day. Shout out to Trina Day Connie. Bitch, please.
305
Okay,
all
how
day.
bad you are. I'm not eating
you
it.
have, Jen? You have?
Yeah.
Man, call me Moses, man, because I part that
Nigga
Red Sea with
stuttering.
that
Damn,
tongue.
but
You know what I'm
you
saying?
had to eat it though?
Oh,
Oh,
oh, oh.
this is what disappointment looks like again.
Oh man, I'm just playing, man. Y'all
No,
can't
he's not
take me.
playing. He's
Y'all
not playing.
can't take me
But
serious,
to get back
man.
on subject though, the sexual rejection is more of a normal thing in a relationship, and that goes on both ends. Before I go into the emotional side, I hear from women all the time who said I have to beg my man to have sex with me, and I have to take it when he gives it because outside of that I can't get it when I want it.
What's the reason for that, though? That's my question.
Yeah.
Why is he not that interested?
Only
Yeah.
say that, but shit, it goes no different than a woman not
No,
being for it. You don't think so?
I disagree with you because I think men are more apt to be, and I think men have a proclivity to be more aggressive when it comes to mating and being with women. I just think that's the fact. I think there's a lot of women that can be in a relationship with a man for 50 years and she's fine as long as her needs are taken care of. And you can find a man who's been in a relationship for 5 and his girl doing everything, and that nigga's still fucking bitches on the side. So I think women are wired a little differently, and because of that, I would say if he is not interested in engaging with a person who is readily available to him in his home, they got to be underlying.
I gotta actually agree with Des for a change. Like that one is harder. I'm sorry about that, bro. This one's I'm harder pressed to believe that a man, their sex drive and their level of desire is much greater than a woman, and we've talked about that just straight off of the general dopamine levels and so forth, and how easy it is for us to kind of get to that high and how we desire that high and whatever the case may be. So I think we're more apt to doing it. So for me, when it comes to the woman, I think, and when it comes to rejection, man, if a woman rejects a man, typically a man won't stop right there. He's gonna try about 2-3 times. You know what I'm saying? Unless he's on the the 6th month or whatever the case may be, and he done heard it all the time. Only one time is gonna be fine with him before he just kind of disassociates. But men will try you a few times, but to legitimately get tried a few times and really give the man the Heisman on it, I mean, come on, man, that's fucked up. You looking for that man to either disengage, step out, to aggravate a situation, which is going to start more arguments, and you're going to create an unhappy home, man. There's no other two ways about it, man.
And while I agree with that, I do want to touch on something you said earlier. While men are more naturally aggressive, I think the truth is a lot of women have that same sexual aggression within them, and they haven't experienced the same sexual experiences. For a man, every time we have sex, we're gonna come. Isn't that a great relief to know? I mean, it almost never fails. It's 99.999, whereas so many women are not seeing half that percentage. You know what I mean? So to me, when you find who's been getting off, and every time she has sex, she gets off and she loves it the same. You find those women who be like, man, that whole nasty. No, she like getting off just like we do, and
Yeah.
you'll get that same aggression from her than you would from a man. You know what I'm saying? As far as his natural state of mind. But comment on that, Des. If you disagree, let me know before
Yeah. So a couple things. I never said any and all, right? What I mean by that is, there's like 3 billion women on this earth. Are there hundreds of millions of women that are just as aggressive as men? Yeah, for sure. I'm talking about the generality of women.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're talking totality, I think there's more women who are not that way. The other thing is, what's the second point you made? You made another point about what was it? I can't remember what your second point was. Your first was about your first point was, huh?
We'll come back to it. I can't remember what the hell I was saying.
Nah, let me think on that for a second. We can come back to it, but I wanted to touch on that because
I was basically just saying that women get off every time.
Oh,
it allows them. Go ahead.
So not to get real geeky, but if you're thinking about how men and women are, and so I don't want to get into naturalism and religion, and some people think God created the earth as it is, right, in his image. Some people think there is a God, but that he put things into motion and the world came a certain way. Whatever you believe, right? Men, they have a penis because they're meant to impregnate. So the male ejaculation, right, is step for step associated with the orgasm, right? Like it's not, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
So as a biological function, the male by default has to be more efficient at that because he's supposed to impregnate. Now I'm looking at the animal world, right? Humans are different, supposedly.
Preach.
But the male lion is supposed to impregnate as many female lions as he can, which is why he has a pride, right? It doesn't behoove them to come for every goddamn male lion that puts his penis in. But for that one nigga, that's all they need.
Yeah.
Give it to him when he got it.
All the hoes in the whole tribe. That's a good life for the
tribe. What I mean?
Yeah, he bought that. Yeah, he bought
maybe humans have messed this up a little bit. I'm just saying.
Yeah, hashtag marriage, marriage goals, all that. and we could argue that forever as far as whether or not that's the natural order of things, monogamy or not, but that's a different subject. To stay on topic, just the emotional aspect of things as well. A lot of times a man, we're known to be tough and rigid and stoic, but when we do get vulnerable and open up, if we're rejected, if we tell you how we feel about something and you don't respond to it, you're not, attentive to those feelings. I feel those feelings of emotion run an even greater risk than rejecting them, on a sexual level. Would you agree? Or would you? Yeah, and you have questions, I guess, because in a way I want you to talk on emotional rejection, but I also wonder which is worse, emotional or sexual rejection for a man. Which would be?
I think it's actually tied, because I think some of this, even sexual rejection, will have some emotional implications, because there's at some point where you receive so much rejection in the bedroom that you start to begin to do and it's a natural progression of what people do when they are rejected, and that is really hampering down on themselves, really getting in on themselves, self-criticizing, all that. And you start to question your very person, right? You start to be like, what is it about me that I'm not doing, that doesn't do it for her? Am I this? Am I that? And it starts to fuck with your self-esteem. That's going to have some emotional implications, because, your safe haven is your home. So the one place that you should be able to come to in this crazy world is come home, feel respected, feel like a man, feel like a king, feel like, okay, I can be vulnerable here. And you go to this safe place, and all of a sudden your vulnerability is exposed in a whole nother different level through this rejection. Now, ain't nothing safe. You got a trickle down effect at work now. How, your self-esteem when you're talking to your homeboys, a nigga step to you in the club. I mean, you don't even know what the cascading effect is. So I think they're tied, to be honest with you. That's my stance on it.
I would say I think emotional is actually worse, right? Because I think that is the thing that people crave most in a relationship. And I'm not saying that sexual chemistry isn't locked up behind talking about one and one A, but I think that's because here's why I say that. Here's why I say that, because to me, it's very difficult. We always talk about the vibe, right? It's very difficult to go by the vibe. Like the vibe is something that happens where you like, and it happens with people you don't expect it to. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen with people that you want it to all the time, right? But when that thing hits, it hits. And so for me, if you have that vibe, listen, at every level you want to think about it, motherfuckers can pay for something sexual. You got phone sex, you got porn, you can buy a hoe, like, and don't none of them bitches love you. Okay, they're not gonna help you with your problems. You can't talk about work to them, nothing. So my point is that if you got that, I think having the emotional part, the psychological part stable is much more important.
Yeah, because it's easier for, especially in my opinion, for a man to accept sexual rejection. We've been accepting that from day one. We've been we are well versed with what that looks like. So
right.
I think it's just for a man, it's harder to open up, and when we do, we expect it to, be validated.
So quick question before you move on to the next one, though. What, because I hate to leave this place and not drop no jewels off for dudes or women who are experiencing this rejection. How should they be handling
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into it.
Okay. All right, cool.
Jumping the gun. But in fact, we can get into that next. I just wanted to, nice transition. Okay. I wanted to bring up something I read. A professor at the University of Kentucky, Dr. Nathan D. Wall, said that the need to have a strong and fulfilling relationship is as fundamental to human nature as is the need for food and water. Would you agree with that?
Shit, I do. I agree with it for the whole sake of just it's humanity. I mean, believe it or not, that's why they create the box or solitary confinement in prison, because if you're cutting off your social connections, it's how we feel in this COVID situation, man. I feel like it's super tough for these men or women who single and alone, and they having to kind of go through this alone. It's virtually solitary confinement, and that's why you're going to see this increase in depression and increase in any particular mental disorder. It fucks with you all the way, bruh. What do you think, Des?
Yeah. I think I was gonna say the exact same thing. There's a reason they created solitary confinement for criminals, right? That's a punishment for the folks who are already in punishment, right? Like that's the motherfuckers that go to the box are from the group of the motherfuckers who didn't know how to behave with everybody else, and these niggas, they still can't get it right. So, and that's the punishment they went to. That's sensory deprivation, right? Which is part of it. Not being able to talk, touch, smell, see another human being or another living creature I think it is completely opposite to what Jim's point was, completely opposite to what makes what makes human beings human beings.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's the key to craziness right there. Isolate somebody,
Yeah. So emotional connection is an absolute, bro. And no matter how a man want to come off, I'm hard, I'm a thug, I'm straight on that, bro. You really ain't straight on that. Trust me, you ain't really straight on
most
that.
Women know that. Every
straight on that.
Thug needs love too. I believe.
Yeah,
who said that.
They created a whole phrase. Thugs need love too. You know what I'm saying?
Before we talk about the ways to handle rejection, just a quick mention on reasons why rejection even happens. I think sometimes as well, you're not ready for a relationship. So some of the reasons rejection really takes place is because you're not ready for what it is that you jumped yourself into. So anything that happens on their part, anything they do, you're taking it as rejection, when really the fact is you just feeling overwhelmed by everything. You ever looked at it from that part?
I never looked at it on that part, but it could make, I mean, it makes sense though, you know, just if you walk through it, if you're not in a place to receive and someone is giving and maybe you're not in a position to receive it, you're going to be void regardless. I think you're going to find yourself in particular situations where you're going to feel like it's rejection, but it really isn't. It's really a pseudo or a false form of it though. I don't think it's true rejection.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I think, I actually think you could look at it even more so from the perspective of sometimes people being altruistic with the emotions of others. And what I mean by that is, every day in this world, right? And people are in relationships or in budding relationships where one of the parties, the male or the woman, realizes, I love this person, or I really, really like this person. But I know, to your point, Jen, I'm not in a position to give what I feel like I would need to give in order for this relationship to be awesome. And of course, I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to hurt their feelings, right? But it has nothing to do with their attraction to that person or the vibe they feel. It could be I'm dealing with some grief over here. I'm in this upward projection at my job, and I may have to move to China or wherever else, and that's going to take me from here. So why start something I can't finish? I don't live my life like that, but I can see why a lot of people would.
And what you're basically saying to me is not all rejection is actual rejection. Sometimes it's circumstantial. You have to remain objective, and we're going to get into that a little bit more once we talk about ways to deal with it. But I thought about something as well. Times where we take something as rejection when it isn't. Oftentimes we're just not connecting in certain ways. You can like someone, but the conversation isn't great. You know what I mean? Sex isn't great, but I really like their personality and the vibe. So when we're rejecting them, it's not because we don't want them. It's because we're not connecting in other ways, and it's forcing me to reject you in another way, because everything has balance. You feel me?
Yeah, shit. Yeah, that makes sense.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. Is it, and this goes for both of you guys. If you start out, I don't know, dating someone or going out with dating someone, right? You guys, the hope is that romantically you guys have an attraction, right? But it turns out that while you really, really enjoy this person's company and you like spending time with her, there's no romantic chemistry there. So as people call into the friend zone, right? Yeah. Is having time with somebody, and either you or them or you both realizing that though there's nothing romantically there, you enjoy each other's time. Is that a rejection necessarily?
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's rejection. I think it's just a situation of you not connecting, but it is perceived. It can be perceived as rejection.
I agree. I think it's a misalignment. And people always talking about timing, right place, right time. That you're in this space and they're in that space. Dog, what happened if you really hot about a chick and the chick is just not in that space? It's not even have to do with you not vibing. They're just not in that space. They could have came out of another relationship, still dealing with turmoil from that relationship or some of the after effects of it. And at the end of the day, she just can't do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's not like y'all don't vibe even. It's just like, it's just not the right timing. But you're going to take that as rejection though, because at the end of the day, rejection is almost, it feels like you're not getting what you want when you want it. And because they closed the door on you, then now all of a sudden you feel a certain way. Doesn't mean she ain't feeling you. Just mean it wasn't even the right time to feel you.
And that's a good question, Gent. Is it rejection when the timing is off? If she wants to sleep with you and she's thinking about being with you forever, she likes your vibe so much, she wants to give you the pussy, but tonight she's not because she wants to play the long game. Is she rejecting you, or is she just saying, hey, let's wait a little while? Janet Jackson had a song, let's wait a little while. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always what we perceive as rejection isn't always rejection. Sometimes it's just be patient or, not yet.
In that scenario, dog, I'm feeling like it's not rejection though, dog, but it feels like you know, it's like, oh, she want to play that game.
I heard though, Jen, they say you the long game king. That's
what I'm saying. Like, I don't got a problem playing the long game, man, because you know, a lot of people just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. They just see the tunnel. You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
I have to be honest. Most 99% of the time with a woman, she has never wanted. She didn't play the long game with me, but I've been treated like a piece of meat. They out here treating you like Captain Save-A-Ho. Bitch, want to make the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't save him.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's
You
good stuff. That's good
Don't
stuff.
save him. You don't want to be. Don't save him.
So you mentioned earlier about ways to handle rejection, and you know, everyone's going to handle things different. The first thing that came up was to be conscious of differences. You know, we all have a different reality. No one sees the world at the same way. You know what I mean? So people will likely behave differently from how you expect them to behave based on how you would have behaved. So one way to handle rejection is to be conscious of those differences, so that when I say, hey man, I'm telling you how I feel about something, and you would be cool. You would be like, hey man, no, we're gonna work this out. But they do the entire opposite of that. To counteract the feeling of rejection, you have to be conscious that this might not go the way that I would do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, it is. And Des, you ever been in those situations where you wanted a chick to say that you asked a chick a question, but you really wanted a response the way you wanted a response, and you ain't get the response the way you wanted a response, and immediately it put you all the way off? It feels like that type of situation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a guy or a girl telling their partner, I love you for the first time. And when you say I love you, instead of getting that, you know, I love you too, it's that, you know, that's cool. Or, you know, we're going to, you know.
Ditto.
Yeah, if he says ditto, he might as well have said that's cool, because nothing is more unstable than a ditto.
But you know what though? Real quick, one-way tangent, then we take it back. Yo, you should never say I love you to somebody because you want to hear it. You say that shit because you want to say it.
That's real.
You know what I mean?
That's
fly.
No, Dad, because
is that a period with a T at the end?
Yeah.
Period.
But you say it saying because you want to express it, but you shouldn't me if you don't expect them to say it back. And that's everyone, I think. I don't think that you
got to be a real thug, though.
Think about it. All right, you tell me, Jen. Would you tell a chick you're seeing, everything's going on, would you tell her you loved her first if you weren't sure or had a feeling that she loved you as well?
No, you don't want to. Okay, there's a difference between fully jumping the gun.
That's what we're talking about. Do you say it if you're not sure? Do you wait it out? You know what I mean? Or do you take the risk? I feel it now, and I can tell she's not where I'm at, but I'm going to tell her how I feel right now. That's some awkward shit, because you've been fucking with chicks in the past where she lays it all out on how she wants this, and you couldn't see past fucking Tuesday, nigga. And she said it too soon. She unloaded.
It's happened to me, dog. So I completely understand.
Yeah,
it's
so
happened
if
to
she
me.
would have waited, it would have mattered. So I don't think that we tell each other how we feel. I think we do it to express it, but at the same time, we hope for reciprocation in there, or we wouldn't do it. We don't want to be rejected.
That's got some feels on it.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, do it how you want to do it. I mean, that doesn't apply to me. I think there's people that probably applies to and people it doesn't. But at the end of the day, you setting your ass up for some fucking failure if you out here like saying I love you because you want to hear it back. Like, what I'm telling you is, I've never been that dude in relationships that says it. Like, I'm that motherfucking relationships. The girl say I love you. I'm like, I appreciate that. Right? Like, I'm that guy.
Pat on the back. A firm one too. Nothing sensual, bitch. Like,
oh man, but look, that's so stupid. But listen, but
you know what it is? What? I visualized it, dog, and it's something that you would do, dog, and it felt wrong. It felt wrong.
But listen, but my point is this though, like the time that I've said, like I've never said that. And I guess this goes along with my personality, right? So I'm also not the dude that'll tell you you look pretty if I don't like what you have on, or won't give you like an honest critique on something you're wearing. So for me, I don't say shit for shits and giggles. If I say you look pretty, it's because you look pretty to me. It's not because I felt obligated to say it because you bought that ugly ass fucking blouse the other day and I'm supposed to like it.
I think what you're saying is different, Des. What I'm saying is, I believe that even if we feel a certain way, we wait to when we actually share our feelings because we fear rejection. And I'm wondering, I'm asking you, would you share your feelings even if you were almost sure that the person you're sharing with didn't feel the same way, and live that free, or do you wait?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So then yes, you clarified that. I agree with your first point. I agree with you. The second thing is I would say it like if I felt it, because I would be like, I feel this way right now. And if this other person doesn't feel that way or doesn't have the capability to feel that way, then we can cut this shit right here.
Yeah.
Because if you don't feel that way about me, why waste another 2 months of my fucking time?
But timing is everything. What if you tell someone I love you and they're like, look, I love where this is going, everything's good, I'm just not there yet? That's tough. How do we
That's rejection.
That relationship?
I've gotten that. It's rejection, bro.
You've always been through the tough situations, ain't you?
Yeah, I've been through some tough situations.
So God, I don't even know how you make it through pride-wise. I can't stay together because in my mind, all I'm hearing is like, you're not there yet. So everything I do for you, I almost have to tone it back because I'm like, no, I can't go in too much because, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know where you're. Gent, talk to us, Gent. Tell us.
Dog.
Pull back? Do you stay where you're at?
Pull back. You gotta leave her today.
Pull out. You saying pull out? Don't pull back. Pull out.
No, you gotta pull out, dog, and relocate. it's done.
Relocate.
You got. Here's the thing. There's different ways, and I know we're gonna talk about it, but there's ways of handling it head on, right? And I think you do that when you're more of an adult, you're mature. You got some emotional intelligence that you are armed with the right tools to be able to go ahead and fix that shit. But when it happened to me, I was young, dog. It was gone. You got to be. I was gone. It was done. There was no more. I
think the moral of this, or to sum this tip up, is really to just be more mindful of the expectation reality gap, because that's really where you set yourself up to feel rejection or to feel hurt. You know what I mean? So you have to take that expectation out of your mind. And when you're hot shit, when you know your vibe's good and you know everything's good, your expectation reality gap, it's so small because you're like, nigga, I know what I know.
Yeah, I feel
maybe then you should share your feelings. But if you're not certain and that gap seems further than you like, I'd wait. I'd wait it out, buddy. I'd wait it out. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Makes sense.
Here's what I would say. Every day we get up, millions of not just Americans, millions of people make the poor assumption that they'll see tomorrow, right? They make the poor assumption that everybody that was important to them today will be here tomorrow and 2 weeks from now. And my only thing, and this is just my personal thing, so that's why it maybe doesn't apply to the masses. So I'm not necessarily saying you're wrong, but I'm just a message to the people. Yeah. Don't expect that motherfucker that you love so much gonna be here tomorrow for whatever reason. So when you have an opportunity to say I love you to someone that you love, that's what I was getting before. Then you say that shit because that's how you feel. Because guess what? If on the way leaving your house to go back to their house or to run to the store, they get in a fucking car accident and die, they're gonna know you love them.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. You know, especially in these times with the virus and all that, you know, you really should share your feelings and open up to your loved ones, because you never know what's going to happen, and life is truly short. On a small tangent from what you said, you know, bitches got to have some chill. These hoes got no chill today, you know? Like, seriously, you know, y'all beat a dead horse. Y'all just nag. You come at the same thing over and over. And I don't think a lot of women realize that lack of chill. You're always pressing this issue. You're always bringing this up and almost trying to force your agenda. That leads to you being rejected immediately, short term and long term, because we don't want to hear that shit. And when you press a man, and I want to say even a woman, I'd imagine she'd agree. When you press someone like that in a negative way, it's like, what outcome did you hope for but a negative one? And that's going to lead to rejection when you're good now because you asked the question, you were the one giving it, you weren't taking it. So you come back later and you think it's all gravy. No.
Oh, it's leading to tougher rejection.
Yeah, you will be rejected.
It's before they were trying to be nice.
Yeah.
The next time it's going to be that blunt rejection. And to be honest with you, there's a difference being able how to receive some of that nice rejection versus like, nigga, did you not hear? I don't want your ass. You know what I'm saying? It's emotional intelligence, man. Why push a situation if you don't have to? You know what I'm saying? It's like pushing someone with a gun and say, shoot me. You know, I know people do that all the time and in relationships and shit like that. Like, oh, you want to hit me then? And then slap a nigga in the face. You'd be like,
I don't condone that, but that would be funny.
This is
egg them on, you know. I hate that.
Yeah, don't egg them on. Yeah, why?
Anyways, I'm gonna get back on topic. It's just that came to my mind. These hoes ain't got no chill. But all right, so we want to force yourself to think of more than one possible outcome. So, you know, we got to find reasons to support the positive and the negative outcomes. If you interview for a job and you don't get it, maybe the other person was more qualified. Maybe the other person is related to a family member in the company. Maybe that girl, she sucked a mean dick and she got in. I mean, who knows? Point of the matter is you have to have those supporting reasons already handy so that when that negative outcome comes, you're prepared.
What you want there?
I think so I agree with everything that Jezzy said, and I think that's a frame of mind. Like, I'll tell you this, it's interesting. So I never, I'm a dark, big black male in America, right? And that comes with its own kind of stereotype. But of all the jobs that I've ever interviewed for before I got really stable in my career, particularly when I was younger, if I didn't get the job, I never thought it was because I was like a black guy. Like that never came to my mind, right? And so maybe I was naive, but that's what I'm telling you, it's a mind frame. I just never thought of that because I was like, you know what? I'm prepared, I'm this, I'm that. And to Jeezy's point, I always would have thought, well, I know I did, I would grade myself and I was honest. A lot of motherfuckers not honest with themselves.
That's true.
But shit don't go their way. It was always somebody else's fault. And they honest with themselves. When they talk to their family and friends, it was somebody else's fault, right? So my thing is, I'll tell myself, you know what? I always grade myself. On a scale of 1 to 100 on that interview, man, I was probably about an 82, right? And while that's not horrible, it's easy to beat a fucking 82. So somebody else could.
It's not easy, but it's doable.
Yeah, 82. Yeah, I mean, you get an 85 or 90 on the interview, right? So somebody else could have came in, been just as qualified as I am, and they killed their interview. And maybe that's why I didn't get the job. So before I just think, and I'm going on a tangent myself, but my mind frame was always, before I blame anybody else, did I do everything I could and exhaust every possibility I could to be successful in whatever that thing was?
But Des, you're not going off subject. You take that into a full relationship, bro.
Yeah.
And I think that person, the problem in a lot of relationships when it comes to even having these conversations about rejection, because some of the tips is just having the conversation. Dude, it's a lack of self-awareness, a lack of ownership and personal courage to say, shit, you know what? I took some time to look inside myself and I see some of this shit that's wrong. I have to take some ownership in this shit. I see where some of my errors is. If I was to grade myself, I would say I was an 82, and I could see where you would have some issue with that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that space where I could have some.
I find a lot of women, and when we got on with that podcaster several episodes ago, I can't remember, but I remember she even said it herself that so many women aren't real with themselves. They're not honest with themselves to claim, where they're going wrong in the relationship, to speak to their laziness. They talking about, oh, my weight, this, I don't like how I look, but you at home every day doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? But every time you buy food, French fries are involved, et cetera, et cetera. So there are things that you have control. No, I know you smiling, Dad, and I know y'all always say I go to the weight, but these are things that you can control. Everything in your relationship, in your life, is discipline, or things that you can control. Y'all know me, and I take being in shape pretty well. Everyone knows also I can eat whatever I want and be all right. I haven't eaten dinner after 7 p.m. That's not because I have to. It's because I choose to. So many women, I believe, and men are probably out there doing it too, but I can speak from my perspective, are not being honest with themselves, and they're letting themselves off the hook in ways that they shouldn't. When the fact is, the reason they're not getting the outcome that they seek is because they're not actually doing the work. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I
No,
digress.
no. There's no digressing that. I mean, yeah, we know you focus on the weight a little bit, but if you take the weight out of it and you put that in any sector of your relationship, bro, you're still spot on, bro. It
Yeah.
don't matter what it
If
is.
you take the weight out of it, then it wouldn't be no problem. Y'all see what I'm doing there?
I
Exactly.
feel it.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Hey. But yeah, I think about the best example for that really too is a man approaching a girl. When we're going up to a girl, we see her, she looking good. We wondering if she feeling us. We wondering, do we have a
Okay.
chance? In
All
our
right.
mind, we like, let's go over there, shoot our shot. She might say yes. I'll be hitting it in 2 days. You know what I'm saying? We'll be eating dinner for 3 weeks if you gent. You know what I'm saying? Or
Hey.
or she might say no. Or she might say no because she has a boyfriend. Or she might say no because she just got out of a bad relationship. Or she might say no because you know what I'm saying? She got really, hurt in her last situation and she's real
Any
iffy.
number of
And
reasons.
so the timing could be off. So realistically, when you have that in your mind going over, and I think again, men are uh more conditioned to this type of situation. We're having a mindset that win-lose mindset. So when we go in, if we take the L, we're like, all right, I'm getting back in the game, 10 minutes later. But
Yeah.
I think that's just it's your mindset.
See, in my industry, like, there's salespeople, right? And what I love about salespeople, man, is that, dude, it's like they were groomed to be told no. They don't like it, but they can take rejection, but they never hear no. They hear opportunity. Even when they hear no, it's just like without pressing it, because they have some emotional intelligence enough to say, okay, was there something that I could have done differently? If so, I'm gonna go ahead and try this again. But they take rejection, they internalize it, they say, what can I learn from this shit? And then when it's time to repeat it again, they're a better version of themselves. I think rejection it feels bad. It equates to pain, but you could take that, flip that, and you could do something really powerful with it too, bro.
What
I
do you
love
think
that shit.
it says about being objective when facing rejection? The sex comes to mind again because again we deal with so much of that in a relationship as a man. Your woman saying no to some pussy when the fact of the matter is she had a long day at work and she taught it, you know what I mean? And maybe we're feeling rejected when the fact is what we really should be doing is keeping things, objective so we understand where she's coming from to see that it's not really rejection, but more so just bad timing. No,
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's hard. That's hard for a man to do out here.
You know what though? But I think it's not necessarily hard. It really depends on how much you care about that woman who is telling you it's because she's tired. Let me tell you something, because if you couldn't imagine your life without that person, then you would just be like, you know what? I would have preferred to have slid my penis in her this evening, but seeing as how she's very tired, perhaps tomorrow would be a better day.
How long is it okay to
So
go?
eloquent. So
How
eloquent.
long is it okay to go without sex in a relationship, to be rejected in a relationship and say you understand and it's all good?
I think that
Check.
answer is infinitesimal, right?
Yeah.
Because it's gonna depend on the woman and the man in that relationship. It's gonna depend at what point in the relationship they are. Have they been in a relationship for 2 months or for 10
Illness,
years, for 3 years? So
kids, yeah, a lot of factors. You're right.
yeah,
That
It's
was
a
two
sliding scale.
general
It's a sliding
questions.
scale. But
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows what their threshold is, right? You know what I'm saying? Before they start acting a monkey fool. And at the end of the day, you should try to have those conversations prior to getting to that threshold.
Yeah.
Because
man.
that's the problem. Because sometimes men are so prideful, and I'm speaking for myself because I know that, and it's one thing that I've worked on significantly is how prideful I used to be. And you never kind of ever not be prideful, but it's not to the same level of intensity. But you'll put yourself in situations where you're not going to have that conversation solely on, well, shit, I mean, I know I look good, so something's wrong with her. If she, and, you know, I'm gonna wait for her to come to me, and I'm not gonna go to her. And at the end of the day, you done went past your threshold of patience to a point where now you 1,000 degrees, and nothing good is gonna come from that. You just gonna burn the whole world down, and or you're gonna end up doing something stupid. Have the conversation prior to your threshold, your breaking point, man.
Yeah. I think that's, you know what? I think part of that too is, I think maybe a little pride or maybe a little stubbornness gets in the way, right? Because I think you get a lot of folks that say, well, she should know. She's in a relationship with me. She ain't been fucking her man. What she think going on, right? Like, so I think there's an expectation of being able to have that emotional intelligence you talked about salespeople having, and say, look, clearly this dude hasn't been getting what he needs, and I've been a little bit maybe lackadaisical around that. What can I do to not exacerbate the problem, right? So I think there's that expectation, and when you expect something and it don't come through, it's almost more devastating if you never expected it and it never happened. You know what I mean? So expectation's a motherfucker. You know,
it is, boy.
Yeah.
It really is sometimes.
Will set you up for failure. You know what I mean? And that's, we talked about this in a previous podcast, to where expectations can ruin your relationship.
It can, though. It can. No, it can.
But the last thing I wanted to say was to not take the outcome so personally, you know. And I know you all just spoke to that in your examples, but I just want to push that point through, where you just basically have to accept the reality, and other people have things going on, and it has nothing to do with you. We tend to make everything about ourselves, you know. Woe is me. And maybe not everybody. Some of us are able to keep it far more subjective or objective, depending on the way you look at it. But I think a lot of times when things come at us, we always, man, it's just happening to me. It's just happening to me. But you don't know what's going on with the other person. So just don't take the outcome so personally. If your man comes up to you out of the blue and says, look, it's not working, I'm done, there was nothing you could have done. That's not the rejection that you think it is. It's just the fact that he made a drastic decision, or, you know what I mean? Maybe he was stewing on it. Who knows? But my point of the matter is, there was nothing to prepare you for that. So you can't take that outcome personally. Yeah. I mean, low key, maybe you should look into those things that maybe made him want to leave. But maybe there was nothing. Maybe he just met somebody else. Maybe he just realized he's not meant for relationships. A lot of men get into relationships because we meet a great woman and a great vibe and pussy good, and we like, man, I want to be with this chick, and we get into it and we see like, damn, this is what a relationship is. I got to be home every day. I got to answer to this. I got to Yeah. He cares about her. He loves her, but he realized that's not the lifestyle that he wants to live. And I don't think a lot of men in particular are honest with themselves about that. And we do what society has told us, Western civilization, find a woman, marry her, settle down.
I agree.
So we do that, and we get locked into doing the right thing, an American dream, and we get into it like, damn, I wasn't made for this. And he's cheating galore, and you're taking it personal. No, he loves you, ho. He just love a lot of hoes. He love all of his. You know what I'm saying?
He might even love you more.
That's just how it is. And a lot of women don't understand that. Some can, because there's some real chicks out here doing their thing. But the way men can compartmentalize in that way and say, this is just sex for me, but this is love. And this is intimacy, but this is just sex. And again, I just think so many men need to look at themselves in the mirror before any I do's and say, am I husband material, or am I a nigga that ain't shit, that want to be in the streets, that wants to do what he wants to do? Just be honest with yourselves, you know?
Yeah, no, respect, man. If are we wrapping it?
Because let's wrap this thing up, because
I also just think that it's important to take some time to just recap and just examine yourself. Sometimes another big thing is, man, allow yourself to heal, man. A lot of people get that rejection, and going back and talking about the salespeople, like, it's different when you're doing it for a job and selling a product. But when it comes to your life, sometimes I think you got to allow yourself to heal, man. Bruise ego and all. Allow yourself to recuperate before you jump back in, because you're not allowing that self-discovery and that analyzation to be able to take place for you to realize, how do I learn from this? How do I move forward to be great? You know what I'm saying? But don't let none of that shit hold you down, dog. God made you, so at the end of the day, no one can break you. but yourself and him. And so don't let no one ever put you in that space. And real talk, there's always gonna be there's something gonna be better for you every time, bro. And we all face it. So you're never alone. So don't feel like you're the only one that this is happening to. Like, you know what I'm saying? And we all experience it, man. I remember how many think about going to the mall back in the day with your paper and pen before these cell phones came out, bro. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of times when you shot your shot in the mall, you know what I'm saying? But you really, and there was some times where it was like, hey, you know, they moved past you. But as soon as you start to realize, dang, boy, maybe I was coming too aggressively, maybe my breath stank. You don't know what it was, but you learn from that shit. You come step to them another way. You develop your game in a different way. Man, there's gonna be someone on the other side who's gonna welcome you, bro. I'm telling you.
I saw in a movie once.
Want you now? You're hot. They all on you.
Oh yeah,
Mike Jones.
That's if you're hideous and you come into some money. That's only applies.
God dang, Chuck.
I saw in a movie, I forget which one, but he said, "What kind of chicks do you like?" He says, "I like girls that like me." So realistically, fellas, just find the ones that like you. If they're all ugly and big, I don't know what happened, but that's just the life you've been given. You got to embrace that. You know what I'm saying? Go for it.
If I put my bow on, I would say, take rejection for what it is. I think rejection can spawn some beautiful things, right? Michael Jordan being rejected from his basketball team in high school, to have him go work harder and come back even stronger, right?
Mm-hmm.
For LeBron James not to make that state championship in football and say, I'm just going to focus on basketball, and look what happened, right? So
look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady, 198, pick overall, man. The NFL rejected him as a whole, basically.
Yeah. Right. Greatest quarterback ever. Yeah. Right. So take rejection for what it is. And from a relationship standpoint, if you get rejected, be honest with yourself and find out what made you the person that she didn't want to be with, or he didn't want to be there. What can you do to, maybe not for that person, but for your future, better yourself so that you're more attractive to people, whether that's your weight, whether that's reading more, whether that's getting your teeth fixed, whether that's doing your hair, whether that's whatever that is for you, or whatever combination of those things. Focus on getting better on those things and make yourself a better person. All the other shit will fall in.
And
true.
Maybe it's none of those things. Ask yourself, is the person you're with the right person? Because there may be nothing wrong with you and you're not connecting with this person and you're facing rejection because the connection isn't ideal. It's not long lasting. You know what I mean? It's not genuine. So check the vibe. If the vibe isn't right and you're seeing holes in it, you're not really being rejected. They're just helping you and giving you the signs that this relationship isn't what it's supposed to be.
Wasn't going to be. Yeah.
Move on.
Real talk.
You know what I mean? Move on. Plenty of fish in the sea. I know that analogy never gets old. There's a lot of fish in the sea.
Salmon, bass, nigga. You know
barracudas too. Don't lead them barracudas alone.
Barracudas alone. Is that those are 4 and unders?
Oh,
okay, man. I'm not gonna do
it. That's why they always hiding up under the water, on the sides. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Even they know where they belong.
Oh,
that's tough.
Either way, man. You subscribe, man. Episodes weekly. Find us on YouTube. Find us on all podcast platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify. So all the socials: Facebook, type Brunch with the Boys; Instagram, Brunch with Boys. We definitely want to try this. We're going to put something out next week where we're going to take questions via webinar. Jezzy gonna figure that out for us, man. We're gonna send some links out. And a time slot for everyone to just join us, and we have a real good time. Come in, ask questions with the boys, join our table, join us at the kitchen table, and let's get it in.
I'm looking forward to that. Let me tell you something. We can make that happen. We look forward to interacting with y'all. So we're gonna make this pop up. It's gonna be amazing.
There it is. Y'all hold it down.
Yeah.